Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Natalie Show right here on GHOne TV, where, as always, we bring you nothing but conversations that matter. Now, I'm very, very excited about tonight's episode because I'm personally very much vested in this woman's career from observation and admiring her on social media. Now, this week on the Natalie Show, we talk all things sports, particularly tennis. My guest on this episode is one who I would describe as a female tennis powerhouse. Now, Nashika Edu is a former WTA player, a board member of the Gender Equity and Equality Committee of the Ghana Tennis Federation, as well as, of course, the founder of Ace Tennis Academy. And she sits with me on this episode of the show to talk tennis and everything else in between. Now you're welcome to the Natalie
Natalie.
It's very good to have you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love it here.
I'm glad you do. I really am. Now, as I said, I've been I don't want to say stalking you, but looking at your social media quite a bit, and I find you very admirable.
Oh, thank you.
I really do. I find you very admirable.
I really appreciate it.
Now, we always start the show by asking, what's the state of Na's life right now, as we speak?
Interesting. I think Na, if I can speak, I think for me right now, I'm in a space where I would say I'm evolving, and also I am very appreciative and grateful for having to live a tennis life. And now I think I can appreciate the proceeds and the impact of what I've been able to build. And I'm just enjoying it and allowing it to flow and, just moving on and making sure that each and every day I do something that is closer to the dreams I want to create.
Right.
Yeah.
You're evolving.
Absolutely.
Said, right?
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that process of evolving means, of course, you started off somewhere.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What was that starting point like for you?
Wow. So I could never tell this story without mentioning how I actually got into tennis, because I remember my dad used to have he had a health challenge, and I think it was something related to his heart. I wasn't too sure. I'm not too sure, but I was quite young then. So he started playing tennis with his friends, and sometimes he'd be like, "Shiga, let's go," so that you become a ball girl.
How old were you then?
I was 10.
You were 10?
Yes.
You wanted to be a ball girl. Oh, that's adorable.
It was actually quite imposed,
Right.
but I like the fact that it gets me out of the house. Because growing up, we were not allowed to go out.
Yeah.
You don't have friends coming to
Your
visit.
parents were strict.
Nothing.
Right.
Strict.
Right.
So for me, it was like, ball girl was quite a privilege because then I get to move out of the house. So I remember this went on for a while, maybe a couple of times, and my dad has a wall at home. I hit a tennis wall at home.
A tennis wall?
A tennis wall. So sometimes when he can't go to the tennis court, he would warm up in the house. We had a big compound. And one day as he was getting ready, I went to get his rackets, and then I picked up a ball and I started hitting the wall. But I didn't just hit the wall. I started playing multiple balls against the wall, and he was so shocked.
You hadn't done this before?
Never. I've never touched the racket, never touched the ball, nothing. So he saw me and he was like, wow. And it was at the time where Venus Williams was playing in a Wimbledon. And for him, I think that he saw a black girl on TV playing tennis, and he's seen a little black girl, his daughter, doing something by just watching. And he said, "You're going to play tennis." And that was it.
That was it.
That was literally it. So I remember he and my mom took me to the GHOne Tennis Club, and they registered me. And the first time I got there, it was all clay court, and I was like, wow.
You were excited. I mean,
was.
Aside him seeing that you had the interest, right? Or you were intrigued by it.
Yeah.
You were actually excited. You wanted to do it.
I was. I feel like I've always been an active person, and it was the first time I showed interest in something where, obviously, that was also what I was exposed to.
Right.
Anyway, so, I mean, I fell in love with it, honestly. And the minute I got to the court, I was like, I want to do this. I love this. And I even remember my first tennis coach. I feel like he also made me love it because he was quite nice. He passed on.
He did?
Yes,
Right.
yeah. But I think he gave me a very warm welcome, and he used to really encourage me. Like, he said very encouraging things.
Yeah.
And he's also a Ga, so sometimes he switches from English to Ga.
Okay, so that made you comfortable?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was very, growing up, I was very shy and quiet. So having that mix of being in a space where I had this very, very old man,
Right.
like make me feel comfortable to
Mhm.
learn a sport. And I was that attentive girl. Like anything he says, like
You
I
took it
remember how,
seriously?
yeah.
Right.
And I remember the first thing he taught me
Huh.
actually that I learned in tennis. He was like, "Can you shake my hand?" And
Okay.
I was like, "Okay, why am I shaking this old
Yeah,
man's
what does that
hand?"
have to do
You
with
know?
okay, right.
And he said, "You see the way you shook my hand? I
Oh.
want you to shake the racket's hand."
Wow,
I was like,
I like
"Oh."
that. Brilliant teacher.
That was the
Hmm.
first thing I learned, and I never forgot it.
Brilliant
Honestly,
teacher. Right.
yeah.
Now,
So
you said that when you were young, you were shy,
yeah,
right? Introverted
somewhat,
ish.
sort of.
Okay, sort
Yeah,
of.
I was quite reserved,
You were
honestly.
quite
Yeah.
reserved. So what did it do? What did you notice that it started doing within you, like as a young lady playing tennis?
Hmm. I low key, I felt empowered. Like, I would go to school and I'd see all my peers, and for me, in my head, I had something. There was that, like, I had another life
Oh, another
aside
life.
a young
School.
kid growing up,
Yeah.
going to school and everything else, and I felt comfortable. The fact that I don't think at that age I knew what confidence, empowerment, and
Was
all of these things was.
empowerment.
I just
Right.
knew that I was different,
Right.
and I knew that I had something that nobody else had, and that made me different.
Yeah.
And it didn't make me proud or pompous or like,
Hmm.
no, it didn't. But internally, I felt okay.
Yeah.
I felt sufficient. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I couldn't say that, oh, I was empowered, because girl, I didn't know what that was.
What that was.
No.
But you felt, I mean, aside a school going child,
Yeah. I
you
feel
had
like I
something
had
else.
something.
You had another
Yeah.
sort of life. It's exciting.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
had a life
Yeah.
outside what everybody
Of
calls
what
life.
everyone else
Yeah.
had.
And I like to be different.
Yeah.
So I guess
Do
that
you?
was, yeah.
You like to be different?
I like to be different.
Consciously?
Yes. I
Why?
love being different.
Why do you think about being different?
Because I feel like everybody tries to do the same thing. Everybody tries to go the same routes.
Right.
Everybody likes the same things, and I'm like, why should it be that way? I like to explore. I'm a bit adventurous.
Yeah.
I am.
Uh-huh.
So I like to do something that reflects who I am and not what society expects
Right.
me to be. And that can be a
that's
bit
very heavy statement.
Yeah.
But it's important. That could be a little what were you gonna say?
rebellious sometimes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you
Especially when
so
it's
you have a trip of rebellion. Do you?
it's a nice way.
Like, oh, of course you will say
It's
so.
not like a
Right.
rebellious way. I'm in your face, like I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
this. No, it's just a nice way of sticking to who
You.
I am.
To your
And
truth. Right?
yeah.
No, I must say, I mean, when I like just going through your content on social media,
Mhm.
it was one thing that intrigued me. Like, yes, she's a woman, young Ghanaian, but there's something different about her. Like,
Yeah.
she's in her own lane, sort of thing. That's what I
Yeah.
observed. So I agree.
Yeah.
What was home like outside of tennis?
Mhm.
What was growing up like? Like, what was your childhood like?
Hmm. I don't think I have enough words to describe what home was like, and this is because on the outside, I come across as this confident woman who grew up probably in a nuclear family and had the support of your parents and siblings and all of that. But on the inside, it was like an inferno. Like it was literally, um, we had to. I feel like I went through quite a lot. When I was going it through, though, I didn't see it as a lot, or I didn't focus on the negatives of what
Right.
home was like. In fact, for me, I decided when I put my mind on one thing, I just don't allow the noise to get into
Right.
it. So, growing up, my dad was very strict, and there was a lot of like normal quarrels and
Yeah.
fights
Frequently? Okay, you said a lot,
yes,
so
every
frequently. Right.
now and then.
Mhm.
But as a child, I was so focused on my sports,
Right.
and I think that is what gave me a bit of hope.
A
Cause
bit of an escape, I guess.
Yes.
Right? Like a healthy escape.
yeah,
Right.
and also I say hope because for some reason I felt like the sports was gonna give me freedom someday.
Right.
I always saw it as a freedom. I always saw it as like an outlet. Like
Yeah.
I feel free when I play. So even though I hadn't gone, like I wasn't grown then, and it wasn't time for me to get out of the house or be,
Yeah.
away from like all of that toxic behavior, I felt free on the court when I played. So I knew one day this sport was going to give me something that it was going to liberate me,
Right.
and I held on to it every step of the way. So I usually would never focus on all the things that was happening. And I think that was how come I got through. But something else helped me.
What?
Art.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Painting, drawing, which
So
one?
drawing.
Yeah.
I picked it up when I was like, I think I was either 9 or 10, and I got so intrigued. And growing up, I was a girl who never cried. Like I would never shed a
Whoa,
tear.
why?
I don't know.
Why
Like
wouldn't you shed a tear?
I don't know. Like I never. Like
It
I
wasn't
never.
that things didn't move you to the extent of crying, or you just was like
I'm-
you're strong, you're not gonna cry.
I'm extremely sensitive, but I wouldn't cry. The tears would come. No,
Okay.
like it wouldn't
Yeah.
come. And the only thing that made me cry when I was a child was when I drew something and it was so beautiful. And I used to look at drawing as I have a blank space
Right.
and I
get
bring
that.
life to
Yeah.
the space.
Yeah.
So it's like I could sit down. I remember 12, 13, the only time I cried, and it was all tears of joy.
Yeah.
And like I would literally be in tears because I did an artwork or I brought life to like a paper that was nothing. And as a child, it was so beautiful for me. So that to the extent that I started like exploring, because again, I was in a home where you were not allowed out, there were so many restrictions, and I started exploring with charcoal. When we used to do the banku on like the coal pots with the charcoal.
Yes,
So I started exploring with charcoal and using it as like shading and stuff. And I thought I'd invented something, not knowing this whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, so I figured out later in life that
Yeah.
oh hell no, this thing
This
is already
not
there.
new,
Like
but it's still, I mean, an
you
outlet
know,
of sorts.
oh,
yeah.
I used to feel proud. I was like, oh my god, I
Yeah.
invented something. You know, like
It's still something.
yeah.
So arts and sports, specifically tennis,
Yeah.
were your outlets,
Yeah.
right? From what you say was a rather toxic environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
In spite of the fact that you had these outlets, it's only natural that such a level of toxicity,
Yeah.
that much, of a toxic home,
Yeah.
can get to you.
hmm
How did it get to you?
I don't think it got to me at the point where when I was younger.
Right.
I think rather what happened was I bottled all of these things and maybe subconsciously pushed it into my somewhere. And I think years down the line, when I grew up and I started facing the main challenge of actually bringing to life what this academy meant to me,
Yeah.
everything started coming together. So there was a point in my life that was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago where I had a major breakdown, and it actually brought a lot of like health complications. And I realized that all of these was just because I hadn't dealt with all of those unresolved
Right.
emotions as a child. Because as a child, I was very good at pushing everything outside. Like when I'm focused, I was very
Yeah.
disciplined.
And you had things that you could be focused on
Yeah.
anyway. So
So
yeah,
it only reflected when I was
when you got a bit older.
yeah.
Right.
And I think that in a way I'm happy it did at that time, because maybe then I was able to understand
Right.
and get the right help that I need.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in this country we don't talk about mental health
Right.
and psychology and all of this. So as a child, if I had broken down at that stage,
You would have been.
I don't know,
broken.
yeah,
Actually
literally.
broken for good. Right.
I
Yeah.
can't see, like if I look at the life I lived and my family and everything, I can't see where the help was gonna come from.
It sounded like it was a bit tough.
Yeah, it was.
How many siblings?
So I had two siblings when
Right.
it comes to, so my mom's side is
Uh-huh.
just from my mom.
Okay.
I have two siblings. That's me and one other girl.
A girl? Okay.
Yes.
Right.
From my dad's side, officially he had like 17. That's
Wow.
the official number.
Your dad had
We don't know of the
17.
rest. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I don't know of the rest.
So they
Maybe-
are the rest.
I don't know. Like
Right.
as we sit here, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
That's
So
uncomfortable, eh?
again, I like to ignore
Yeah, I mean,
things
it's,
that
it's
doesn't
not
come
you,
to me.
but I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it does have its challenges,
Right.
especially when you
But
have
did you see each
half
other?
siblings. Of course, we
Okay,
did.
You did.
Yeah, I
Right.
think having half siblings comes with a lot of challenges. It comes with a lot of issues, jealousy,
Right.
competition,
Yeah.
and these are all unhealthy competition. Because for me, I have built a family outside my nuclear family,
Exactly.
which is tennis, and I have like friends and
Yeah.
all of that. So I didn't understand as a child. I didn't understand why we couldn't be a family, just
Right.
supporting each other and build happy memories
Yeah.
rather than fights. Like
It's unnecessary in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things. It's really
there was the
unnecessary.
property and all of that, and I was like,
Right. Your father is PCLI?
Yes, he passed.
Oh, he passed. Yes.
Yes.
Clearly, you're strong, and we're going to touch more on. I mean, you've talked about how you overcame
Yeah.
this toxic home with sports and with the
Mhm.
arts. We're going to talk about ACE,
Yeah.
right, and the future
Mhm.
that you're looking for, not just for the organization, but for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Do stay with us here on the Natalie Ford Show. You're welcome back to the Natalie Ford Show, and I've been in conversation with Na Shika Edu, owner of Ace Tennis Academy, a sports and a tennis powerhouse, really. And we're recording here from the Air Force Officers Mess, right?
Yes.
Where the Cantonments Court is
Yeah.
located, because you have other courts as well.
Yeah.
Now, you were talking about your childhood,
Mhm.
right? Rather toxic home.
Yeah.
But of course, through tennis, through art, you've overcome that.
Mhm.
Tell me about your tennis journey, because I know you've played professionally.
Yeah.
It's not just Ace. You've
Yes,
actually
yes,
played
yes.
internationally as well.
Yeah.
So how's that journey been like, and having tennis as a career, not just a hobby?
I think that that was a tough one because when I wanted to start playing international, in fact, when I was playing tennis, my dad wanted me to go international. Obviously, he saw the likes of Venus, so
Yes.
his mind was you're gonna go to the world and you're gonna play in the world tennis
Right.
tournaments and not just locally here
Yeah.
in Ghana. And I think that that has always been my dream as well. So at some point, I had to make that step towards going to the world. And as a young child, I didn't know the financial, how do I say? Yes, I had
Yeah.
no idea. I mean, I kind of had an idea of what it means because
Right.
obviously I've been in the sports and
Right.
I know what it means, like it costs to
Mhm.
play the sport, but I didn't understand that, and it got to a time where I if I don't do it for myself, nobody was going to do it at the time where I wanted to pick it up.
At what stage or age were you when you were going to?
So I think that
looking to play
maybe I was
international?
like maybe I was 19 then, and obviously I had passed 18, so
Yeah.
now I can play women's. Now I'm not
Mhm.
playing,
Yes,
and I'm no
you're an
more
adult
juniors. Yeah,
by age, yeah.
yes, and I wouldn't say I don't know what I'd say. Unfortunately, my dad was not in the picture then.
You say
Also,
you had passed? No.
so he hadn't passed
Okay.
yet, but he wasn't in the picture at that point. So I wanted to pursue the career, whether my dad was there or not.
Right.
And I have always had the support of my mom because it was both of them that were training me.
Both your mom and your dad trained you.
Yes, to play tennis.
Right.
So I started, practicing. Obviously, I gave myself about I think 2 years to practice, consistent practice, and
This is for the international. Right?
yes.
Yeah.
And then it came to the point where I needed sponsorship, and it became a big hassle.
Aww.
Like it became big, and it's interesting. Like tennis comes with a lot of risk, especially when you're training an individual person, and it's so like it's so expensive to sponsor someone. And I don't think that then I had a team, and even myself, because it was just myself anyway, that was able to put together or argue or create that space where I can really attract sponsors. And so I started coaching on the side because I saw my friends do it and save up and travel.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
like, and it was all the national players, but it was like just the male national players. So I was
Who
like,
did that?
why do you people get to do that and I can't
you
do that? Like,
can't, right.
because I remember we used to train at the Army Offsets Mess, and they would play and they would make money at the end, and I'm like,
Yeah, okay. So there was no female coach? No one, aside your mother, you've not had any female professional coach?
No, I have never had a female.
Wow.
In fact, even when I was as a player, I never played against females. Like I never trained against females, so I got so used to playing against male players that I used to hit a lot of power, and that's where all my power came. Because from childhood, I never played with a female. So I remember even when I used to play here, I struggled a lot when the other female is not playing so much power because that's my comfort zone.
Learned, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you were talking about the sponsorship, though.
yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, eventually I started getting some help, and I also started like coaching on the side, saving up, and I started making my trips. I started with going to the neighboring countries, so you have Togo, Benin, and Nigeria, and then eventually I made my first trip to Europe, and that trip was something else. I feel like that trip was more like I don't want to say a beckoning, but for me. I went to Italy, and ideally we were like, okay, we're gonna stay a bit and train a bit before we have our tournaments. And my friend introduced me to this beautiful family. It's a tennis family, and they're like, "Hey, come with us to our tennis center." We get to the tennis center, and guess what? The head coach, which we called Maestro,
Okay.
he saw me when we were playing, and apparently he used to be the former Italian number one, who was
Wow.
Fabio Fognini's coach.
That's
And
huge.
he saw me, and then he was like, he called, and he couldn't speak English,
Yeah. I can
and he
imagine.
called me. He had a
Right.
translator there, and he's like, I'm gonna coach you whilst you're here, and he gave me free membership to the club as number one,
Alright.
and he coached me every single
Oh, that's
day for about
wonderful.
3 to 4 months. And I remember one day, after training, I was sad, and he was like, "Why are you sad?" And I'm like, "I feel like then I was young, but I was like, I feel like I'm growing, and I feel like, I mean, I don't see, I know I can play,
Yeah.
but I don't see where the help is gonna come
Yes.
from." And he said something to me that never left me. He said, "You're black. Never talk about age. You're strong. You can always do it. So keep pushing." And I felt like coming from an Italian black man, like white man,
White man.
who
Right.
was straight up in my face telling me, "You're black. Don't ever mention age. Age doesn't matter to you, and keep pushing because you're strong." I was like,
That's
okay,
beautiful. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
you know. And I mean, a lot happened. I played the futures, and at some point, I was like, there was no more money traveling back and forth between cities,
So you
hotels.
fund all this entirely, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so at some point, I was like, okay, this is not working. I need to like retire in a way.
Right.
And it was too early, to be honest. It was way too
Early
early.
20s, I presume.
Yes, and
Right.
it was way too early. So I came back home, and I'm like, listen, if I have to remember one thing that I learned on this trip, it was what that man said. You're black, you're
Strong.
strong, never mind about age,
Age,
just
right.
keep pushing.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, how do I, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, where do I move on? All I've known my life is tennis.
Right.
You know, like, I was that student who, even in school, I remember in senior high school, I would literally be drawing because I felt like, okay, this teacher, whatever he's teaching, is not making sense to me. So some of my teachers actually got used to the fact
Right.
that I would
You're
literally,
not. You're absent-minded. I mean, you're doing your own thing, really.
and
Yeah.
I was a good student.
Okay,
That's
okay.
why, and I actually was a class prefect. So
Oh,
they
okay.
couldn't be bothered. Like, I'm always doing the opposite
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Like, I remember even in high school, they would say, because of tennis, I didn't eat from house. I always bring food from home.
Oh.
And they say, don't eat in the classroom, eat
Yeah.
at the cafeteria. And I'm like,
No.
and I'm the class prefect too. I'll eat in the classroom.
Breaking
Like,
the rules so much. Right.
yeah, so
Yeah. So
that's,
it started getting tough, right?
yes. Oh, it started getting
Really
very tough.
Did you hope for some familial support at that point, or was it just
Every
too
step
much?
of the way.
You did.
Every
I can
step of the
imagine.
way.
Yeah.
Every single step of the way. But you see, I think a part of me also knew the situation around me, and I knew that I can't focus too much on where the
right.
help should come from, because then that would make me sad, and I don't like being sad. So I always try to push those thoughts away. But it was really tough. Like, I had a whole period of, let's say, over a year where I wasn't doing anything. And my whole life is tennis. I'm not doing tennis.
Yeah.
I didn't even have I was so weak, not weak in terms of being sick, but
Yeah.
because I knew my career, I didn't know what I was doing.
What's next? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. The path you were taking.
Yeah. So I think that I didn't even want to step on the court at that point. I was like,
Were you depressed?
Yes, I
that's
think
maybe
I
a
was.
bit of a harsh word, but were you?
no, I
Yeah?
think I was.
Right.
Maybe I didn't realize then that I was depressed, but I was, because at the end of the day, I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And I've always had something to look forward to. So imagine you come back, you know you can do
Yeah.
something, but you don't have the means to get there, and you have nothing going on with your life. And this is someone who used to spend almost 9 to 12 hours a day invested in tennis.
Right.
If it's be on the court, if it be watching videos,
Yeah.
learning, watching matches,
It was your
And it-
world, really. Yeah.
you know. And so I remember I decided to go to the tennis courts, and it was around Kolebu. And I happened to, my grandpa or grand uncle, who he happens to be a patron of a tennis court inside Kolebu.
Okay.
And I didn't know. I think I met him just through this tennis
Right.
interactions, and I realized that, oh, he's
He as
related to
well.
my family.
Yeah.
So
You didn't
we became
know.
yeah, like
Wow.
we became close,
Yeah.
and I literally would leave the house 3 times a week, go to his club, and his club were all like, now he turned 90 this year, so
Oh,
you can
July,
imagine
right.
they were all very very old. They were
Yeah.
all above 60.
That's very old.
It was a
Right.
group of about 14
Men.
men above 60 come to the tennis courts, could barely walk. They all have all their
Oh, no, very
straps around.
descriptive.
Straps, like,
Right.
forgive me if they see this interview, like they have these
Yeah.
straps around their knees, and
Okay.
I'd go
Old.
there
Right.
and sit with them, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'll play with them so that they have a really good game, and they
Yeah.
get so, oh my god,
Excited,
the
I can
pressure,
imagine.
the
Right.
power, oh my god, her serve, you know what, I can return her serve, and
Yeah.
the serve comes, and they can't
Okay.
return it. They're like, and
Right.
that was life for a while, but something happened.
What happened?
One of those days, as when I went there, because the court is a very, like, it's where it was. It's like there's a lot of trees around. It was
Right.
inside a Kolibu Teaching
Okay.
Hospital. It's very quiet.
Yeah.
In fact, some say that it's closer to the mortuary, so people don't like that area.
Yeah.
So it was very quiet,
Quiet,
but it has a
yeah.
really nice ambience, to be honest. And one day, I just sat there watching them play, reflecting on why I'm sitting among
Why I cannot
60 over 60
when
year
you
old.
have the talent to be like somewhere in the world doing a big time. Yeah.
And then something came to me. I was like, wait, hold on. This is a tennis court. And we don't even have lots of facilities in this country. How can I turn this into something that can benefit another child
Yeah.
somewhere? Because I was like, I grew up in a space where, in order for you to travel outside the country, you must, like, you go through a lot and visa
Yeah.
and this. And I'm
Right.
like, hey, if I didn't do anything, at least I was able to travel to Europe and have that exposure,
Experience and exposure.
you know?
Right.
So I'm like, what if I do something where it can bring another kid at least this exposure, and then maybe along the line I would have learned so much that I can actually help manage someone's career in a
Right.
way where I
Yeah.
I can live my
Yeah,
dreams
dreams through them.
through
Right.
them. And this is me telling you this whilst looking at a court that had the cracks on those courts was so huge that we used to call them gutter. We didn't even call them cracks. That was how bad the court is. And for some reason, I found hope in that court, and I was like, I'm gonna start a tennis academy. I mean, as a kid, we always dreamed of having a tennis
Right.
academy. Like, because I'm a tennis player, so everything
Yeah.
around tennis you
So
want
wait,
to
there
do
was
it.
no academy, yeah?
No, we had like the sports training centers, last and like the federation
Yeah.
centers that was at Winneba and then
Yeah.
Accra Sports Stadium, but we didn't have
An
an academy. So I was
There's a lot
like,
we lack, but anyway,
I know.
carry on.
Then I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna start a tennis academy. And my grandpa was like, hey, and the interesting thing, that facility was just laying there. For me, I always say it was just wasting away
I can imagine
because
it was.
they would play about 6 hours a week on 3 days. So
Right.
like 2 hours on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and
Uh-huh.
Saturdays. The rest of the days, that court was empty. Nobody used the facility. Nothing. And I was like, okay, what can I do with this? And that was where I started putting plans together. I started at tennis academy as a tennis player with no business mindset, with no business knowledge, absolutely
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
And I learned everything on the
Right.
job. I learned everything as we go
Yeah.
along. I learned from my mistakes. I
Right.
learned from the good success we had.
Absolutely.
And I remember because my first client, they're still with us,
Mm.
and there were
Your
two
first
girls.
client?
Yes,
How many? Well,
they're two girls,
Two
like
girls, okay.
they're siblings,
okay.
and we're now very close to the family. Like we've
Wow,
always
I
been
can-
very close to the family.
So beautiful.
And
All right.
I remember I had I had flyers at the guest house where the tennis course is, and I had put the flyers there, and I think it was exactly 2 weeks. Nobody had called about tennis sessions or anything like that. And I think 2 weeks after, I get a call, and then the man goes like, "Oh, I saw your tennis thing, and I want to sign up my kids." And I was like, I was like, I was
I know, right? But it was
jumping.
on the phones. I'm sure you
Yeah,
sounded all
oh,
composed.
trust me.
Right.
And he was like, I have two girls. And I was like,
Oh.
yes. So then I was super excited.
And now you have about how many?
So we've had a lot of players, but we can say that between the 70 and the 30. So there's always like it's fluctuating. There's the players who are very constant, and then you have So in fact, we have more than 30
Yeah.
right now,
Right.
but usually we can get up to consistently 70
Right.
across all our branches.
Your different branches.
Yes. And that
Wow.
call,
That was the beginning of it, really, of
everything.
ACE. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I think I like. So what happened was we had those two students for over, I think, almost a year before
Okay.
we even started having other clients.
Right.
But what that did was that gave us the opportunity to really train them, because
Right.
we concentrated everything
All your energy and
on them.
them.
And
You know, it's sometimes I guess, of course, you'd have wanted to maybe get to some point in tennis,
yeah,
but I'd say that the number of lives that you're touching
mm-hmm.
and other people's dreams that you're helping to come to
Yeah.
fruition
Mm-hmm.
it can be even more impactful. Really,
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, it can.
Yeah.
Because
It
interestingly
can.
enough, when we
Now, I'll just ask you to hold that thought, lady, because we'll touch on that.
Yeah.
And how many other children,
yeah,
and not just children, because adults as well,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I should maybe take up tennis.
you should
Yeah.
absolutely. That
Stay
would be
with us
lovely.
here on the Natalie Fort Show. We've got more shortly. You're welcome back to the Natalie Fort Show. Now, I'm absolutely loving my conversation with you now, and I can talk to you, of course. But yeah, now we were saying, and in my estimation of things, I feel like you've touched even more lives through ACE, right?
Mhm.
But you said that training when you were younger, though apart from your mother, there was no female coach.
Yeah.
From your journey having started ACE,
Mhm.
have you had in mind, and of course the role that you serve as well
Yeah.
with gender equity and equality with all the federation,
Yeah.
how much of a necessity would you say for us to have more women in the sport?
So first of all, when I was growing up, I didn't see any female coaches, not a lot of female players, not a lot of female in the sports
Right.
industry itself. But for the academy, me being a female, me being then the head coach,
Yeah.
me being the boss, me being very strict
Right.
and disciplined, and sometimes they even say mean.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing how that transformed our interactions with both our clients, parents, and the players. And the effects of that discipline, mean yet nurturing, character I had, and how it manifested in terms of how the kids responded to it was absolutely amazing. And it was so amazing that I realized that almost more than half of our clients were comfortable bringing their kids to the academy because there was a female person there.
Yeah.
And then we started growth. So we're growing, I'm getting more branches, and I'm in a space and I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to evolve. We need to we
Yes.
need to scale up. There were so many things I wanted to do because the academy was just supposed to be like the foundation of all the things we wanted to create.
Right.
So there's gonna be a time where I wouldn't have to spend as much time on the tennis courts like I was doing.
Yeah.
And then now I realize that I'm being pulled from every
I can
direction.
imagine. Yeah.
Parents got very comfortable knowing that there was a female presence on the court. To the extent that there were some parents who would say, hey, my kid is coming with a driver and she needs to change, so please have your female coach assist with changing instead of the male driver assisting with change. So it was
Wow.
an added
Yeah.
value that parents felt comfortable with.
Safe
And
as well. Yeah.
yes,
Safe.
that's the word. And you also had the little boys who were coming to the academy, and they wouldn't listen to anything the boys say. The male
Right.
coaches, no, they wouldn't listen. They would only listen to the female coaches, and they want them to hug them and carry them and hold their hands and talk to them, because they wanted, like, they felt at home with a female. And most of them, some of them had nannies and blah blah blah, so they felt comfortable. And I realized that I couldn't do it. I couldn't be in a Kolibu. I couldn't run. I couldn't manage and run the organization, be a head coach, be a female coach, be at all branches. It was impossible. But then here is the situation where there was no female coach.
Yeah, well, have you? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because you're not. Of course, you're not gonna train the coaches out. You can't. That's gonna take a lot of time. I don't know if you do. Do you? You train the coaches?
Guess what happened? Guess what I did?
What did you do?
I started a program and I called it the She in Action. Now my people don't like the name She in Action, but okay. But I started a program where I went to University of Ghana, full scholarship, play tennis for the country school, won gold medals in every competition to the extent that I was sportswoman of the year. And one thing I realized or noticed whilst I was there is the fact that a lot of the female great athletes I saw on campus who were doing amazingly well, some were even in the national teams in their respective disciplines. What happened was I saw a couple of them after school, and they were in professions or that I was like so sad to
Yeah, I
see.
can imagine.
Like I see
Yeah.
this person and all that talent, all that vigor, all
Just
that
gone to waste.
inspiration is
Yeah.
just wasted, literally. And I was like, listen, I need physical instructors because physical instruction is one of the, in fact, physical conditioning is one of the biggest development tools for tennis. Not just the hitting part.
Right.
Before you can hit, your physical body or your body mechanics needs to be right. And this is something that internationally they spend more time on. You know,
Right.
so I was like, listen, it's easier for me to teach someone who has a sports background in physical conditioning because they understand how the body works.
Already.
So it's
Right.
easier to teach them that and then progress to teaching
From
them
there.
how to do tennis coaching. So I started getting
Your former was it? Yes.
students from University of
Wow.
Ghana who did sports, and I recruited them.
Right.
So I gave them on a job training
Right.
where we started teaching them how to be tennis physical instructors, starting with the most basic and most simple, the simple things. And I'll say what really made this program a success was the first girl we got. Her name is Obaya.
Oh, bye. Okay.
She was fast. She was sharp. Like everything we taught her, she was. Sorry. So she was very good.
Yeah.
And within 2 months, Abaya was like the most loved tennis coaches, and all my tennis coaches are like, when did she come? Everybody loves her, and she picked on everything. Everything we taught her, she like had a solution to. She was ready to grab. She never forgot anything. She would come back and she had already done her notes on like new things that she's learned off internet, and I was like, this can work. Now, if you see your buyer play or buyer coach, and she learned, she had no idea about tennis. She learned how to play and how to coach and everything through this program. And from there, I was like, okay, this can happen. I can make this happen. So
at this point, it's not just training, say the kids. It's even
No.
creating employment opportunities.
Absolutely.
really,
Absolutely,
for
because
adults.
I can, all the people I've employed, I like employing young people because
Yeah.
I like empowering young
Certainly,
people.
yeah.
Because I feel like with the young people, we're in an age where they're very creative and they don't want the normal old norms that people, are used to. So they get very creative. So when they love something, and especially when it's sports and art and not like, being employed in some job that they don't like, but if it's something that they really are passionate about, they become very creative.
Yeah.
So I like giving young people the opportunity. Like our head coach now in the academy is basically the youngest.
How old?
He should be like 25 or 26, and he is the youngest
And it's
in the
important,
team,
really.
and he's our head, and he is devoted. He is.
He's committed.
He's like everybody
Yeah,
loves him.
yeah.
Everybody loves him.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, would you, as we were, rounding up, would you
Yeah.
say that you are at this point living your dreams? Are you fulfilled by this?
I would say that I am fulfilled to some extent. But knowing me and knowing that I always I'm very critical of
Right.
myself, and I'm very
Yeah.
I'm very objective, and I have bigger dreams.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to be grateful and appreciate
where you
what
are.
I've done
Right.
and where I've come to.
Mhm.
But again, my inner self is always like, no, you can do more.
So what are if you could just final question?
Yeah.
The 3 next big things that you want to work on in this world of ACE, and of course your personal
Yeah.
life. What would they be?
I'm exploring how I can use tech and sports to create more impact and create more opportunities, be it coaches, employment, be it talent pipeline, and make sure that people have opportunities.
through tech. Okay. Second.
Yes. The second thing, I want to be the best me I can be and be a role model, because I also realize that in Ghana, we don't tend to see a lot of women sport athletes become people that we aspire to be.
Like role models.
Yeah, like I see, I'm not trolling anyone, but I see old players and it's like they don't look like
They're not
players
inspired.
anymore. Like they're not
They're not inspiring.
they're not.
What was the
And
final thing as we wrap up? What's
the
the
final
big
thing?
Yeah.
I just want to be happy. Yeah. Whichever way that means. If it means me being adventurous and if it means me being following my dreams,
Right.
if it means me being all the things that society would say, oh, why isn't you
Why?
doing this and that? I just want to be happy. So I want to follow all the things that makes me happy.
Live your truth and be happy.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank
You
you.
inspire me, so I guess the work is already being done. You're inspiring people.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
congratulations on
Thanks.
everything that you've done.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're super inspiring. I tell you, you really, really are. Now,
Thank
and it's been a
you.
pleasure having you on the Natalie Fort Show.
Thank you.
Now, do stay with us. We've got Fantastic with Na next. Now, Na, it's time for the game segment. Fantastic. And in case you find this game difficult, it's courtesy my producer, Gifty. So I'm just letting you know that. Now, we've got the head coach, right?
Yes.
Here at ACE, Raphael, who's going to be
Yes.
bringing us some rackets and, of course, a ball, a tennis ball
Okay.
for the game.
Okay. I'm
So, hi,
Let's
Raphael.
see. Hi.
Thank you. I'll take that one.
Okay.
Not that I'm going to be able to do much
I
with
know.
it. Okay, so thank you, Raphael. You can pass the balls as well.
Okay.
Great. So the instructions of this game, and in case
Okay.
you find it difficult, I just have to send a disclaimer that it's my producer Gifty's idea, not mine. Okay, so these are the instructions.
Okay.
You've got the ball. You're expected to bounce it,
Uh-huh.
not downward onto the ground, upward,
Yeah.
right? But you're not bouncing from the center of the racket. You're doing so from the side.
From the frame. Okay.
From the frame.
Yeah.
Thank you. From the side, from the frame. Okay.
Yeah.
1 minute.
Okay.
You bounce the ball upward
Uh-huh.
from the frame of the racket.
Uh-huh.
So we can get up.
Okay, so I
We'll get
doubt
our
I can do
timer running.
1 minute because trick shots are the only thing I'm
Yeah.
not good at.
Oh well. Okay, let's see how long you're able to get.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
3.
I'm not ready, but I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I've got the first 2, 3. Oh, and I fall. That's not bad. That's on fire.
Okay, done.
I'm not good with it.
Okay. Oh my God! I tell you. Now this.
Ah.
My producer has been very harsh. She knows how good you are, so she wants to find something. that
Just
you're not
find
good at.
something.
No, okay. So you did what, like
4,
6
yeah.
ish?
4, 6.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not in 1 minute. but not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see what I can do
Okay.
with the center.
Yeah.
I'll make it easier for myself.
Okay, not bad.
Not good.
I'm gonna help you out.
Well. Nah. It's been wonderful having you on this show. It's been wonderful having you on this show, and congratulations on everything that
Thank
you're doing.
you.
We are proud of you
Thank
here at the
you.
Natalie Fort Show, and we want to give you a little something.
Oh, okay.
It's done
Uh-huh.
by a young artist
Okay.
called Victor,
Wow.
whose company is Imagine Flip. So you
Mhm.
can also our viewers as well check it out
Okay.
on Instagram.
Oh
at
my
Imagine
God.
Flip. And little did I know that you love that so much.
Yeah.
This is the perfect gift.
I know.
Here you go.
Oh. Oh my God. Oh,
Aw.
this is beautiful. Oh
Very
my God,
glad
I
you
love
love it.
this.
I'm so glad you love it. So yeah.
Oh. Oh, this is so
Nah,
nice.
Shika, of course you can't go without the racket.
Oh my God, I really love
I'm
this.
so glad you love it. Nah, and
Oh, this is so nice, Natalie. Thank you so
You're
much,
most
Natalie.
welcome.
Thank you
You're
so
most
much.
welcome. You're most welcome now. We come bearing
Wow.
gifts here on the show.
These are lovely gifts.
I'm
I
so
love
glad
it.
you love it and you love art, so it's
Yeah.
a perfect gift. And thank you for watching this episode of the Natalie Fort Show. Do stay with us. We've got Proud of My Hustle next.
Yɛfrɛ me Aunty Mercy. Metɔn pampers wɔ Tema station. Metu, mesan yi ne baako. Oh, fasoɔ deɛ sɛ agya yɛntumi mfa nto dwa saa. Nanso ɛyɛ sɛdeɛ ɛte bi ayɛ. Yɛfrɛ me Aunty Mercy. I'm proud of my hustle.
Now, you should certainly always be proud of your hustle. Nothing or no one should take that away from you. As always, as we round up, I'm going to leave you with a few words on Natalie's take. My conversation with Na, I truly think she's such an inspiring woman. Now, one thing that stood out to me is that she mentioned one day after going international, heading to Italy and returning to Ghana, she went to the Kolebu court and was training with gentlemen who were above 60. She asked herself, what is she doing here? As she pondered over this, she then asked, what can she do? What can she do with her knowledge and talent in tennis, even if at that point she didn't have the chance to go international? It was that one question and that decision that she took that led to setting up Ace Tennis Academy, which today has trained over 50 young Ghanaians. It's very important that we don't get caught up in what didn't work, but instead ask ourselves what we could make out of what might not have worked. That's what I want to leave you with tonight on the Natalie Ford Show. Don't lose hope. Now certainly didn't lose hope, and you shouldn't either. Thank you for watching this week's episode. I'm Natalie Ford. Have a wonderful evening. Till next week, we'll bring you more conversations that matter.